We're going to draw today's presentation from Baruch Spinoza from his A Theological Political Treatise. And this translation was published in 1883. Now, to give you a little bit of background on Spinoza, and you may know him just as Spinoza. He's a well-known philosopher from, I want to say, the 17th century, maybe the 16th century. I could have that wrong. But and Baruch is just one of the names he went by, or he was known by. I forget the rest of his name, but just Spinoza. And Spinoza was Spinoza was excommunicated by the Jewish church. And I'm going to share with you a little bit, maybe this is why he was excommunicated, but I found this to be very interesting. Before I get into this teaching here, I want to read something from you and get your thoughts about it. Now, I know I typically read the whole paragraph and everything, but that's not needed in this instance. So I'm just going to focus on the verse. And this verse comes from Isaiah chapter 1, verse 17, where it reads that learn so you will seek judgment, relieve the oppressed, judge the fatherless, and plead for the widow. Now I'm going to read this again because I want your thoughts about this. Learn so you will seek judgment, relieve the oppressed, judge the fatherless, and plead for the widow. I want to let that sink in for a little bit and just think about it. I see Sandy and Sharon writing a little bit. So, Beth, what are your thoughts on that little verse there?
Well, I'm just perplexed as to why they're using the word judge. Mm-hmm.
Good for you.
Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking, is there was that a misinterpretation?
No,
when it
was
was transcribed from one language to another? Is there another meaning back then for the word judge?
I'm going to quit.
I love it from you.
I'm going to quit.
Just like companion and teacher were different words, right? That were used in the Bible. Right. Yeah. Because all the other words were like, well, that makes sense. I mean, that's very Judeo-Christian, right, teaching, but the word judge, judge not unless ye be judged. Yeah, it's negative to me. Because it implies assigning a value to something.
Interesting. Okay, good. You're on the right track, though. You really are. Your inquisitiveness is on the right track.
Oh, righty then.
Commendable. And Sandy, what are your thoughts?
Well, in the first one, I don't know. I guess I was feeling like maybe the word judgment should have been understanding or knowledge, not judgment, but I could be wrong about that. I guess I kind of don't understand about judging the fatherless unless it's a reference to the higher power. I that the father who don't don't hold to anything. But again, I don't like the judge. I don't, I don't understand that. I may be more of understanding the fatherless, and I think it's the broader picture, not someone whose father died or left the family or something. I don't think it's too simple.
You're on the right track.
So was it relieve the oppressed? Was that what it was?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
relieve the oppressed. And I mean, that makes sense to me because that sentiment is expressed a lot of times in the Bible. So I mean that makes sense to me. So, and what was about the widow? I didn't miss the first word.
Plead for the widow.
Plead. Okay. Well, I guess I don't know. A widow would have been in a terrible position at that time. So,
Oh, yeah.
futureless. Now would, I would feel for what the widow was going through, but I don't think I'd need to plead for the widow. But again, it could be a higher meaning. So
Okay. How about you, Sharon? What are your thoughts?
Like everything you said, everybody said, I know I didn't like the word either, judge, because it implies, it just implies bad feelings, bad or better, I'm better than they are, I'm judging them, I just didn't like the word either. I'm not sure what it means. I like the idea that you said, Sandy said about the higher power, fatherless, that, I never thought that. So that was an interesting interesting take on it. Yeah. I don't really have an opinion yet. Keep going on this and something.
Well, I want to tell each of you that, I was right there with you. In reading this, exactly. That is exactly what I thought when I read this. So keep that in mind. So let's hear what Spinoza has to say, because he writes that religion, universal and Catholic was the big thing when he was alive, to the whole human race, as Isaiah describes it in chapter 1, verse 10, and this he's referring to that whole paragraph that I didn't read, but he's referring to that. He's summarizing it as teaching that the true way of life consists not in ceremonies, but in charity and a true heart, and calling it indifferently God's law and God's word. Now, I have to ask, when you heard that verse, did you hear anything about charity or a true heart?
A little bit for the widow.
A little bit for the widow.
Yeah.
Or
maybe a little.
God's law, or God's word. No?
Maybe that was the judgment.
Judgment.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I want to remind you that the Old Testament was written in Hebrew. And despite what some people prefer, the New Testament was written in Greek, not Aramaic or anything else, but Greek. So with that in mind, today's technology is fantastic. I have Microsoft's Edge for my web browser. So their AI companion is called Copilot. Now, Google has their own if you use that web browser. I don't. So this is what I did. Because I'm reading this and I said, this does not imply anything along the lines of charity, true to heart, God's law, God's word. That verse has nothing to do with it. So I asked Copilot, about the word judge in Hebrew. And Copilot tells me that in Hebrew, there are multiple words for judge, each with distinct nuances. The most common, and I'm not going to pronounce these words and everything, but the most common meaning not only to judge, but to govern, to vindicate. And here's a good one for you that none of us, not even myself, would come up with: defend or punish.
Okay, so all of the defend could work for all of that. Okay.
You're catching on.
Yeah,
You're catching on.
defend the fatherless, defend the widow. Yeah. And the oppressed.
There's more to it than that. There's more to it than that. But let's finish with judge. And then another one, let's see, another word emphasizes regulation, arbitration, or striving, or more like guiding or mediating than condemning. Now, we hear the word judge. The first thing that comes to mind is condemning.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Now, Sharon mentioned fatherless. Guess what? Fatherless in Hebrew carries profound symbolic, legal, and spiritual meanings beyond the literal absence of a biological father. The term also implies social vulnerability. Conventional, no, not conventional. I'm not even going to mess with that one. I can't get my tongue to work like that. And divine priority, making it a powerful archetype in biblical, ritual, and pedagogical contexts. Vulnerable. Who would have come up with that? I wouldn't have. Not in a million years. And so, let me see here. What else did I have in this? Well, to judge is to govern. That was one of the words associated that. So I looked that up. And to govern implies more than just enforcing the laws. It evokes the idea of guidance, protection. Well, that ties in with defend, doesn't it? Yes. Discernment, stewardship, something that the human race has no concept of. And in ancient Israelite culture, governing was deeply relational and symbolic, and often tied to, there's that word again, maybe I'm going to try and attempt it, covenantal responsibility. So I'm thinking covenant, responsibility, and communal well-being. Interesting. You see where I'm going with this?
Mm-hmm.
And the concept of plead carries rich layers beyond the modern courtroom sense of begging or making a legal case, because that's where our minds went to, yes? Yeah. And it often implies intercession, advocacy, relational striving, I hear Beth over here.
I'm-
Advocacy
whispering it.
got her attention.
It did.
A dynamic act of speaking on behalf of someone and not just arguing facts, representing someone. Now, does any of this sound like what you came up with? No. It blew me away, because I'm reading this and I'm thinking to myself, this can't be right. So I popped these words in, and that was what I got. No. So, if we consider that the Old Testament was written in the Hebrew language, then there are words with different definitions than what we are familiar with. Judge also suggests governance and to defend. Fatherless is not just a biological reference, it also can imply those who are socially vulnerable. And governance also implies guidance. Plead suggests advocating, and the term widow, well now. The term widow also includes those who are vulnerable, not just women, but those who are vulnerable. Wow! So, I'll give Sandy a moment to finish jotting down her notes. I like to see people taking notes. I really do. I don't feel disparaged by it at all. I like to see that. So if we read this as learn to seek guidance, relieve the oppressed, defend those who are socially vulnerable, and advocate for those who are vulnerable, one might even suggest protection and advocation is a necessity in the expression of religion. And you know what came to mind? You're going to love this. You're going to love this. What came to my mind as I'm putting this together was that, wow, all those people who thought they were going to heaven, boy, were they surprised. So, what are your thoughts now, Sharon?
Well, it definitely puts a different light on the all the verses, very much different. More,
More human.
yes, I was gonna say that.
I heard more human.
More human and more caring and more, yeah, defending people that need defending, like people that are in trouble. So, yeah, and I mean, even the widow card, those who are vulnerable, that could be anybody, absolutely could be anybody. So, very different, and you know what I thought, when they edit these things, or they translate these things, don't they ever read it to know what it, like you said, we read this, you read these lines to us, and we all had a very different view of what it meant. We didn't like what it meant. It didn't sound very good to us. Can't they just, can't they? I was reminded of the Good News Bible. Remember the Good News Bible that was all in English? It was all translated in English language, not biblically, thee and thou and all of that, which probably a lot of conservative ministers didn't like, but I thought of that, my thought was, can't they write this like we just explained it, so that we understand what it means, and we don't have to go through all of this interpretation, and, you know, it'd be nice if we could just read it the way it was supposed to be.
But then it's an interpretation.
Yeah, I guess it
You
is.
can't-
No, it wouldn't be an
Yes, it is.
interpretation,
It's a-
no. And nuances and such. But in reference to your question there, when you're working, do you go above and beyond what you're supposed to do all the time?
No, not all the time.
You just do the job. That's what you focus on, is the job. And if the job is copying
Right.
something from one language into another, you're not going to mess with the nuances. You're going to do exactly what you were told.
True.
Because if you did something like that,
You'd be fired.
precisely,
Mhm.
because whoever commissioned you would say, you know, this is not the way I wanted it done, and throw it out.
Mhm.
Now, there's something else to keep in mind. Commission. Can you imagine how many copies were commissioned? Of course, the ones who got paid well would have written it more along these lines than the ones who were paid poorly.
Exactly. Mhm.
So what are your thoughts, Beth?
Well, there's certainly, speaking social justice. And that brought in mind the Baha'i. How come I can never pronounce that correctly? I don't know.
Oh, I have the same issue.
Um,
It's that BH.
it's the Baha'is and even the Buddhists, because it's a philosophy. And boy, did something get lost in the translation throughout the centuries. But then again, you've got the people who rule, people have power, people have the influence.
They want it the way they want it.
His story.
Mhm.
That's
Mhm.
it.
Mhm.
But it's like,
Mhm.
that's probably how it was written. It was a social justice. That's why Jesus came with a new covenant. It's like, oh, you guys messed up.
Well,
Here's the
yeah.
new covenant. Let's try to get back to our social justice. And then that got messed up.
Well, something to keep in mind with all of that, because Spinoza has a lot to say about this, and I've been reading it for a while, and I'm only on, I'm not that far into it, relatively speaking. But before he starts things like this, he explains how things get screwed up. And one of them was that, have you noticed that the Hebrew language is consonants for the most part? And what makes them vowels are just little tick marks, checks or dots or whatever, little bitty marks that can easily be misunderstood as something else. Another thing that he suggests is that some of the words that were used when these were originally written fell out of style. Cool. What does cool mean?
Yeah,
See?
it was rad.
Or it means chilly.
Yeah, right.
But that's the idea that I'm saying here. Words fall out of use, fall out of favor, and such. And he provides a good reasoning, not excuse, a good reasoning for all these different changes that happen. And another one, a whole chapter on prophet biasness. Wow, who would have thought of that?
Prophet as in I know
Jeremiah.
why- Oh, okay, the entity.
Oh, okay. I
Jeremiah,
was thinking.
Jose. Yeah, yeah, no, 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 no. We're focused too much on selling the building.
So,
Hey, the money changers in the temple.
Ah, So, yeah. So there's a plethora of reasons how this got the way it is. But at the same time, there is a plethora of reasons as to why we should take it upon ourselves to investigate. So, what are your thoughts, Sandy?
A lot. A lot, because, we all know that much of this interpretation was done possibly centuries after it was originally written. So now you have people in power, you have the rising of a Catholic Church, and I don't know if I'm specifically, you know, singling them out, but they became very powerful very early. And I feel that uh, these interpretations or lack of are not mistakes. I think that when you sit here and you read this and you take it as face value, it's designed to make one fearful. It's designed to make people afraid. And I think, I mean, that was the premise, make people afraid, keep people afraid, and then they'll stay in line and they won't, question anything. And I mean, it's just that, I don't know, learn so you will seek judgment. I mean, that could be just, if you take that at face value, you better watch it, because if you do anything, we're going to judge you, and it doesn't mean that at all. But, that's where you have, like you said, someone who's really just copying things and not necessarily researching the meanings. And then you have a society that's run by people who don't really want those interpretations. They want you to be afraid. So it just bears in mind that we should be questioning, a lot more of it than I mean, people take the Bible at face value. And they never, I mean, I have a friend who's very fundamentalist and I love her dearly, but she would even think that just doing this would be blasphemous. Just questioning it would be wrong, because everything in this book is divine gospel to her. Everything is, and I guess I'm sounding like I'm judging her, and maybe I am, but I'm not, because that's where she's at. If that works for her, then okay. But just to read this, you're talking about four sentences in a huge book, and look at look at that. It's so daunting and kind of depressing, because you know
spend the rest of your life.
yeah, just trying to interpret stuff. And that Mr. Um, Mr. Spinoza probably spent his life, you know, studying this. And
He was immersed in this.
yeah, and you're
He was a
talking,
Jewish scholar
yeah,
who was excommunicated
yeah,
because
because
he
he questioned.
expanded.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I I just think it's incredible. I really do. And then we have to get into the Greek. Then we have to go check out the Greek,
And it's
Same
the same
thing.
way, because that's what I did.
Yeah.
I did do that.
Hmm.
It's the same. They have their own nuances. No
Mhm.
different than what we do here with our slaying and
Yeah.
such.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And yeah, we'd like to blame the Catholic Church, but it's not the Catholic Church's fault.
And right.
Well, and then there's King James.
Mm-hmm.
I just heard something recently about the changes that he made when the King James version. So there's a lot of more stuff probably left out, maybe some stuff added. Another whole different thing. So, and who knows what, you know,
Yeah. Does it make any of them wrong, though?
well, I guess at the time, in King James version, at that time, though, he was very powerful. Very powerful and wielded a lot of influence, so I don't know why. I don't know the history of that very much at all, and why he did that, why he changed the Bible or whatever, I really don't know the history of that.
Mm-hmm.
But it happened,
Mm-hmm.
it was allowed to happen,
Yeah.
it happened, and every Bible we get today is King James Version, pretty much, that any church
Well,
is,
you've got King James, New Living,
right,
all this, you have a variety of them.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing to keep in mind is with each of these different Bibles, the New Living Bible and such,
mhm,
the whole purpose with those is to make it easier to read
correct,
and to understand.
which that's good, but I guess each of those in their own way is another interpretation.
They are.
Then, and who knows whether that's the right interpretation.
And what you're getting at is correct, because you have the source here, and then with each copy, each repetition, each child,
Mhm.
you get further and further away from the source. And then you've got one of these that become a source. And then the further away you get from that, you get away from the source. It's inevitable.
Yes,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
it is.
It's that old game, telephone.
Yeah, oh yeah,
Exactly.
where you go around the circle and you repeat a sentence
And
and
you
like,
whisper to someone's ear and
Yeah.
it's totally different, but the
Yeah,
last person
absolutely.
repeats what they heard.
yep. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Exactly. So in one aspect, the Bible is virtually worthless.
Mm-hmm.
But in another aspect, it's a teaching tool.
Mm-hmm.
This has nothing to do with Christianity, has nothing to do with Judaism, has nothing to do with the Bible. But it has everything to do with every person who interprets it,
Mm-hmm.
who reads it, who I can't think of the word, but who advocates it. They are the ones who are generating
Mhm.
information
Mhm. And influencing
and
information.
influencing
Mhm. Mhm.
and influencing. It's got nothing to do with the Bible, the religion itself. The doctrine has nothing to do with the doctrine, but it has everything to do with the person interpreting it. It's like what I just presented here. Has nothing to do with what's there, but it has everything to do with what I have said. And then in turn, it has everything to do with how you explain it to somebody else.
Mhm. Mhm.
So the fundamentalists, they're just trying to get as close to the source as possible. And in their eyes, this is the source.
Mhm.
We
Mhm.
can't fault them for that. They're
Mhm.
seeking the source. I seek to get as close to the source as possible. And it was decades after I embarked on that journey that I realized that the best I can do is get close to it. But the real source is myself, is how I interpret it. This is not the source. How you experience the divine, and when you experience the divine, that is when you touch the source. That is when you get there. So, any last thoughts, Sandy?
I I I just love this. And gosh, but it's the task is so daunting, but even if just certain things were pulled out and studied, it would be, we'd have more knowledge than we do right now. Because like I said, these 4 sentences taken literally are very negative, very judgmental, very, and they're not that at all. And it's all that interpretation. And it's just sad because again, it just um reinforces the hate, reinforces the negative, reinforces the fear. Um I mean, I agree with you that even, the fundamentalists, is they're still seeking the source. But I see things like this and I feel like for every step they take 5 steps back because it's contradictory to the journey. It interferes with the journey. They don't see that, but I'm sure they don't because they always feel that you're either going to go here or you're going to go here, and you're either going to be bad or you're going to be good, or it's very, very black and white. But I I really enjoyed this. This was great. I really did.
Good, good. I'm glad. I'm glad. And how about you, Sharon? What are your thoughts?
I'm good. I agree with Sandy, ditto.
Of course you would.
I didn't have to say it because she already said it.
That's right.
So what are your thoughts, Beth?
Well, I enjoyed this. It's very thought provoking.
Hmm.
And it's like, okay, so being raised in my father's church, that was a path that was taught and it was fine.
Hmm.
But when I learned or was exposed to other ways of thinking, and from there saw other paths, and you like started on this path. Okay, that's not working for me. Oh, let's try this path. Oh, that's not working for me. Until I found this place, and here's another path. Ooh, this is working for me. And it's like, great. And it's good for you. If it's working for you, great.
Hmm. Hmm.
And if it's not, look someplace else.
Hmm.
But as you're fond of quoting, in my father's house, there are many mansions. And, you know, if your belief, your path says, I'm never going to get to heaven, it's like, you're damn right, because I'm going to be in another mansion. And I'm not going to see you here.
Hmm.
And someone else is going to be in a different one.
Yeah.
It's like, I can't wait. I can't wait to zoom around the universe. I'm sorry. I'll come see you guys every once in a while, but I'm going to be zooming around here
Yeah.
until I get tired, go to the library. Start going to the lectures.